flag, 4 catches for Evans, first and goal for 1, looking to go back to it, to Evans for the touchdown!
What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Today, we're going to be going over the best and the worst from the Buccaneers' wild card loss to the Washington Commanders, 23-20. Tough loss for the Buccaneers. Tough way to end their season, in a game there. A lot of little mistakes led to the demise of their season. I am not alone today, though. Joining me is my CFP co-host, Mr. Rhett Matthew. Rhett, how are you doing on this Monday? Unfortunately, it's not a victory Monday, but it is a Monday nonetheless, and the offseason is now officially underway for Tampa Bay.
I am doing as well as I can be. It hasn't entirely set in yet that I have to wait another 7 months to see the Buccaneers suit up and play some football again, but we're going to make the best of it. Got a lot of great players to talk about today in some big-time performances. I know it was a loss, but a couple of guys stepped up, played really well.
Yeah, as we always say, there's negatives in a win, positives in a loss. So that's no different. Let's start with those positives, and we are going to be talking about Mr. Mike Evans. Evans went into this game, obviously, big highlight, right? Big highlighted matchup there. Mike Evans, Marshon Lattimore. You know the history. We're not going to talk about the history. It's well documented. But now they meet again. A little different circumstances, right? Lattimore now playing for the Washington Commanders, and they went to battle once more. Mike Evans, I would say, got the better of Lattimore. However, finishes with 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown was on Marshon Lattimore. The Commanders actually had to adjust their defense. Lattimore was playing on Mike Evans, wasn't really working out for him, so they had to adjust some things and put Lattimore elsewhere. So I thought Mike Evans was great for the Buccaneers on Sunday night. It's unfortunate that not many other receivers stepped up, but Mike Evans did his part and moved the chains for the offense, also getting the end zone there.
Yeah, I thought it was vintage Mike Evans, to be honest with you. That's the kind of performance you want from a veteran wide receiver one. But with Mike Evans, to be honest now, 10 playoff games in his career. He has put together one hell of a resume when it comes to production in the postseason. He is averaging over 5 catches, 80 yards a game, and 0.6 touchdowns per game. He's got 400-yard games and 6 different games over 75 yards in the postseason. So you talk about a guy who can step up, and even when the offense was off rhythm at times, when they got firing once again, Mike Evans was the guy that they went to. Also getting the better of Marshon Lattimore is the cherry on top to a day like that for Big Mike.
Absolutely. It's always a little bit extra cool, right, when you're able to do that. With that being said, though, I do want to switch things over to the defensive side of the ball. Not going to lie, I was said that Mike Evans was really the receiver that stepped up the most. I meant that, right? I don't really think there was a receiver that stepped up the most. Baker Mayfield, up and down day. The Bucs running game, not as effective as I think a lot of people were expecting. So, therefore, we're not really going to have many positives on the offensive side of the ball. Only scored 20 points. So, let's move on to the defense. Talk about Calijah Kancey. Now, Kancey did, unfortunately, miss a tackle on Jane Daniels late in the game. I don't want that to be sort of forgotten about, though, his game that he had. He was all over the place. He was an animal. I mean, shedding tacklers, shedding blocks, explosiveness, right? I think got into the backfield, just blew up the guard on that one run play where Washington had the ball down there. It was on the Bucs, when they had that goal line stand. That was, I believe, the second down play. Kancey was all over the place. Couldn't really finish, had a little bit of trouble there, finishing some sacks, finishing some tackles, but he was very explosive on Sunday night, and I think it caps off a really good and underrated year too for Calijah Kancey, and I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
7.5 sacks from the interior defensive line position in his second season in 12 games. What's it going to look like when Calijah Kancey plays a full 16 or 17 game season at this point? I think he is well on his way to just wreaking havoc in the NFL. You got to love the development you have seen from this guy, and I think the jump that he took, we knew that he was a talented rookie. He had a very productive rookie season when he was on the field, but production like that from year 1 to year 2 makes you think that he's like not even close to his final form. I'm excited to see what he can continue to do here for the Bucs.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think as long as he stays healthy, injuries have been a problem, right? He has had injuries in his first 2 seasons of his career. Hopefully, he's able to stay healthy. But yeah, I think if he stays healthy, stays on the field, he can be a really, really good player. Now we're gonna move on to Lavonte David, who I mean, had a heck of a game. Really had a heck of a game. Made some explosive plays. There was one play where Jane Daniels was running. I Bleav it was on a third down. Jane Daniels was running to the sideline. It appeared that he was going to get the first down, right? And Lavonte David sprinted over there and stopped him short. That's some of the fastest I've seen David run in a long time. And he was playing with a lot of spirit in what honestly could be his last NFL game. We don't know yet, right? That is a possibility every year at this point, right? You never know. It's sort of a year-to-year thing with Lavonte David. If it was, though, unfortunately, he did suffer an injury. However, if it was a strong performance, and it was a pretty good performance by Lavonte David.
If that was Lavonte David's final game in a Buccaneer uniform, that's how I want to remember him. We've called him the ageless wonder all year. For the last 2 or 3 years, he has been the ageless wonder for Tampa Bay, one of the older starting linebackers in the NFL. And tonight, man, all of his skills were on full display once again. I would love to see him come back, but I do know that when you're being realistic about team building in the NFL, linebacker is a position of need for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lavonte David, he had the burners on tonight to slow down Jaden Daniels, but there were a couple of times this season the Bucs needed him to do that, and he was just unavailable to do so. You got to be objective when you talk about what they have, the strengths and weaknesses of this roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where they have come up short this year. But Lavonte David, man, if that is it, then so long and farewell. I think he deserves a gold jacket one day. And I hope that the years that he was able to play and maintain his productivity, he played X amount of years longer than Luke Kuechly did. A lot of people argue Luke Kuechly is going to be a first ballot guy here. I think Lavonte David deserves the same. Maybe not first ballot, just because we know it's a popularity contest at the end of the day, but damn it, Lavonte David is a Hall of Famer.
And don't worry, Bucs fans. Lavonte David's name will be up in that stadium sooner rather than later. Hopefully it is later though, right? Hopefully we got a couple more years. Hopefully Lavonte David decides not to hang it up. But if he does, what a way to go out. Pretty strong performance there. Now let's move on to the negatives. And there's a couple here. There's a couple you can single out, I think. I'm gonna say one, the Bucs discipline. There was a lot of penalties, hold by Zion McCollum that wiped away a Yaya Diaby sack. There was a couple other plays. There was a pass interference call on Zion McCollum, again, that put the ball at the 1 yard line. There was a couple of penalties on the offensive side of the ball, a couple of holds that really pushed things back for the offense, made life difficult, as we've seen throughout this season, right? One of the things that's held this offense back has been penalties. And then obviously turnovers, right? Only had one turnover in this game. And on the surface, okay, that's, one turnover. You're not going to play perfect every game, whatever. However, Washington had 0, and that turnover ended up being a big one in this game. Washington takes the lead on a touchdown after that turnover. So the Buccaneers ended up tying the game later on. But again, the Bucs had the lead at that time of that turnover. Those mistakes, penalties, turnovers, that's been a weakness and has been a worst in the worst category, I should say, for the Buccaneers all season long.
Even some of the wins that they had amidst that win streak towards the end of the year, we were saying on our post-game shows, these mistakes can't happen in the postseason. This discipline can't happen in the postseason. Shooting yourself in the foot with flags and unwarranted penalties, that stuff cannot happen against playoff-level competition. And unfortunately, the Bucs were not able to recover on Sunday night from those disciplinary issues.
Yeah. And for the last worst, I don't want to single out any players. I don't think there is one particular player that just was awful. Josh Hayes struggled, right? I'm not gonna lie, right? He struggled. Jamel Dean went out with injury. Josh Hayes struggled. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but I will say I think the Buccaneers coaching staff deserves to be on the worst here. Look, Todd Bowles, was this loss 100% his fault? Nope. At the same time, though, the Commanders did not punt one time. The Commanders did not punt once in this game. They only had 3 drives where they didn't score. One of those drives where they took a knee right before the end of the half. This is Todd Bowles' defense, right? This is his unit. And I understand there's injuries. I understand there's a lot of things. But at the same time, not having a single punt forced, right? That's going to be on Todd Bowles at the end of the day. He is installing the defense. It is his defense. He is the defensive play caller. It is his job to get the defense ready to play, and I'm not sure they were. Washington controlled this ball game, and also Liam Cohen. I mean, we've praised Liam Cohen time in and time out throughout the entire season, right? All 17 games, and then even then some. And his game plan was not great. I mean, it really was not great. Tried to get too cute with the Jalen McMillan reverse, and it ended up being a fumble by Baker Mayfield. That's been a theme, of getting too cute. Didn't really commit to the run game until later in the game when Washington has a struggling run defense. Liam Cohen did not call the best game. The Bucs had a 2nd and 1 with 6 minutes left on the Washington 12-yard line, and they ended up doing a quarterback keeper with Baker Mayfield, and then, which this really isn't Cohen's fault, but Graham Barton ends up messing up the snap count, and the Buccaneers fail to get it on 3rd and 1. They end up having to kick the game-tying field goal. That is the last time the Buccaneers touched the football on offense. So Liam Cohen, he's been great, right? He's been great for the Buccaneers. Bucs fans should want him back, right? You shouldn't want him to get a head coaching job. That would be a bad thing for the Buccaneers. But tonight wasn't his best night.
Yeah, and for Liam Cohen, it's got to be a learning experience. It's tough to have that attitude when it's a playoff loss that ends your season. But he's going to be back. He's going to be better, and he's hopefully going to learn from a couple of those missteps tonight. I thought there were a couple of those mistakes for Liam Cohen in his first full year calling plays as an NFL offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay. There were just a few times where the offense was out of whack because they were either getting too cute or getting away from what had worked. That loss against Dallas, that sluggish first half against the Saints in the final week of the regular season, they got away from what was working, and at the time that was the run game and Bucky Irving. Now, as far as Todd Bowles goes, again, you can't make excuses for the players that he has to work with because depth was an issue. Fielding a healthy defense was an issue. But when Washington continuously has the same solution for the defense that you put out on the field, there were times where it just didn't seem like the Bucs defense had any kind of answer. And again, the efficiency that you talked about, the lack of punts for a Washington offense, a unit that is top 5 in the NFL. The Bucs were top 4.
It's a good offense.
Yeah. The Bucs were top 4 in scoring. Washington was number 5. So it was a tough task for Todd Bowles, but should have been better. And it cost the Bucs their season.
Yeah, it certainly did. But let us know who you guys have as your best and your worst. Let us know in the comment section below. We're always curious to hear. Thank you all for the support this entire season on best and worst, betting the Bucs, players to watch, obviously the post-game shows, the preview shows, the midweek shows. We appreciate you guys for supporting us all year long. Don't go anywhere because we're not going anywhere, though. The off-season coverage has only just begun. We're not going away. Again, we have a lot of stuff coming in the off-season. And if there's Buccaneers news, you can best believe that we will be here to cover it. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go Bucs.